Hello, everyone. So, uh, hello, everyone. My name is Richard Mercado, and today we will be talking about comics in media stress, the rise of online comics during the uh, global pandemic. Hello. So, my name is Richard Mercado. I'm a professional comics illustrator. I'm currently taking my MFA in sequential art at Savannah College of Art and Design. I was the assistant editor for Community, as well as the creator of Nang Ma-inlove Ako sa Isang Sakristan, published by Silo Publishing. What will we be talking about today? So we'll be talking about the comics community in the 2000s and 2010s, the global pandemic and the move of comics to online, PenLab and the rise of readership of Pinoy manga and queer content, and lastly, the rise of political comics. So to start off, um, just to explain a little bit, what are comics? Comics made by Filipinos. If America has comics and Japan has manga, the Philippines has comics with a K. Uh, Most common form of comics are self-published comics made by independent creators. So, comics community in the 2000s and 2010s, um, because of the rise of teleseries and movies, the comics industry of the 1990s was basically wiped out. Comics community restarted underground with the indie comics movement. Comic Con Comic Con was one of the first conventions where indie creators can self-publish and sell their works. So because of Comic Con, other conventions followed suit and were created in the 2010s. LBCon, Asia Pop Comic Con, and most recently, the Philippine International Comics Festival. By 2019, the comics community has grown tremendously. Most comics, though, were still created and sold for print, as comiceros or comic creators relied on conventions to be able to sell their work. In 2020, though, the global pandemic happened. Because of the coronavirus, all conventions were shut down. So there was no way, no place where comics creators could be able to show or even sell their work. Um, the cancellation of conventions last year, they started their comics for free. Because of this movement, in September of 2020, Bernie Mercado and Easy Arcega founded the website PenLab Inc. Creators who used to sell at comics conventions would end up moving to PenLab to be able to show their works. This is what PenLab looks like. And yeah, that so because of the global pandemic, because of the what's happening in society, it influenced how creators are selling their work, selling and showing their work, and they moved from digital to online. And PenLab became a hit, with people finding a new avenue to be able to read comics. Some popular styles in PenLab include Pinoy manga / manga influence works, as well as queer content. These trends came about the rise of these trends also came about because of the rise of the pandemic. Besides moving to online, the comics that are popular are also because of the trends that happened because of the pandemic. So firstly, trends in comics today, Pinoy manga styles. What do we mean by this? Filipinos, as we all know, have always been influenced by manga and anime in Japan. But the pandemic gave rise to meteoric hits such as Demon Slayer and Jujutsu Kaisen. Also, the recent release of the Netflix adaptation of Trece, which is a comic from the Philippines, also gave a newfound interest to comics with similar styles. The Trece adaptation actually directly influenced PenLab and directly impacted PenLab's viewership. The release of Trece increased the viewership also of people reading comics online. So some Pinoy manga style comics that have been successful in the PenLab website are first of all, super proxies. So the logline for super proxies is there are a group of friends here to save your sanity in exchange for cheap money. So looking at the art style, it's very anime slash manga influenced. Another one is Nagmamahal Maria Clara, a comic by Marian Hukom. In this story, Maria Clara is transported to the 21st century Philippines. It's very isekai, if you guys are familiar, where a person is transported to a different world. And then lastly, Katipunera Warrior. The Katipunera Warrior awakens after a cursed demon child slash Bakulao threatens the destruction of Barrio. The content itself is very Filipino, but the style is very anime slash manga. And these are the styles that are working today in PenLab and in comics. So another trend in comics today is queer content and boys love. Boys love. The pandemic also gave rise to newfound appreciation for queer content, specifically for boys love. This can be attributed to two things. One is the rise of popularity of Wattpad, and also the rise of popularity of boys love dramas from Thailand, like the Together series. And these series became really popular in the Philippines. Um, Many of Pen Lab's most popular queer titles are Life in Orange by Liz Me, Anjowa Kong Crosswise by Chambulera. So these are boys' love stories with different twists. Some are slice of life, and then some are more fantastical, where this one is a guy who falls in love with a manananggal. And there's also so if there's boys love, there's also girls love with titles like After All This Time by Bapugichi, and Gold Crush also. Also for my graphic novel, nung ma-involve ako sa Isang Sakristan, which is a BL, I ended up publishing it digitally at PenLab as well. And surprisingly, it also found a new audience, even though my graphic novel was released back in 2019, even though a lot of people have already read it. It found a new audience and a newfound appreciation for it. So yeah, so queer titles and boys love are works that are really getting popular right now that a lot of people are currently reading. Other online comics on the rise are political comics. Because of the pandemic, the political climate in the Philippines has become even crazier. So it gave rise to political comics, especially on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The artist Tarantadong Calvo makes short comics about the political climate that are easily shareable. He trended the hashtag Tumindig, and many creators followed as a form of online protest against the Duterte administration. Tarantadong Calvo was made by Kevin Eric Raimundo. So here are some works by Tarantadong Calvo. You can see here. So this is a spoof of Tony Gonzaga interviewing Bongbong Marcos. So which part of the house is your favorite? And then they're standing over House of Corpses, right? And then another one here is uh, the essential workers who are dying. And so the pose of these characters is like the Pieta, but then instead of Mama Mary and Jesus, it's workers who are dying. And then lastly, if you guys haven't seen this online, it's the fist, the Tumindig hashtag. So this is a spoof of like so the Duterte fist, instead of a fist facing forward, these hands are standing up and rising against the administration. Very witty, right? And yeah, so these are some of the works that have been on the rise lately, because of the pandemic, because of the political climate. So yeah, so lastly, how does the social climate affect comics? So as you can see with the comics that are becoming popular today, these are comics that have moved from print to digital because of the global pandemic. Again, because of the global pandemic, there became a rise of popularity of Pinoy manga or manga style comics, as well as queer content. And then lastly, because of the global pandemic and the political climate in the Philippines, there became the rise of online political comics as well. Yeah, so thank you, and I hope you learned something from comics in media stress.